you can actually scale with the use of this particular technology. So there's a benefit to that. Competitive advantage, it's another one. It's a term that we use quite a lot in businesses. If I do this, I'll have a competitive advantage. If I do this, I have a competitive advantage. But when you look at any business, can actually, if you become an early adopter of some of these technologies, they can actually give you a bit of a leapfrog in terms of you having a superior product or superior services with lower cost. So what do I mean by strategic alignment? I think it's important for business and business leaders to really start thinking, how do you align artificial intelligence, business automation as part of your overall business strategy? The business strategy is we need to reach a particular goal by a particular period. We need to have a reduction of this. We need to do this. In the banking sector, it's always cost-cutting, improvement, efficiencies. Now, what is very important is that 3 elements. I mean, I can talk more about that, but I think I just wanted to bring these 3 practical examples to the fore. One, you need to have a set clear objective in terms of what you want to achieve. Do I want to improve my efficiency as a business? Do I want to cut costs? Do I want to improve customer services? Or do I want to reduce overtime, for example? So it could be any business imperative or a issue within the business that you really want to address. Once you have defined that, I mean, there's plenty. Pick that one area, identify within those 1 or 2 areas. In my example here, I've got supply chain and HR. Supply chain, for example, I want to shorten the process from ordering to delivery in my supply chain. So what do I need to do? I then first start looking at my business process as it is. How can I re-engineer that process to give me the better output? What is the suitability of that process to be automated? In some instances, some stuff that need human intervention, you can't automate. It becomes quite complex and difficult. But I think the stuff that are low-hanging fruits, as basic as onboarding HR, for example, instead of what the minister talks about this morning, why should our young people travel, go and stand in a line in the police station, photocopy documents, walk from that place from one government department to another to actually make sure that their documents are submitted, the employment applications. So those are areas that low-hanging fruits, they don't need a lot of sort of technology and a lot of skill set in terms of doing that. We can actually start with those small steps and start moving forward. Ensure compatibility with your existing systems. I think it's always important. I think in my era where I was involved in helping and shaping companies to develop solution architects in terms of ERP system, whether it's a Microsoft Dynamics or an Oracle or an SAP, it's always important to make sure that your ecosystem in terms of compatibility, you need to look at all those things. But also with the advancement of technology, there's APIs and a host of other things that we can also do in terms of that. But I think it's also important just to sort of have visibility in terms of what your ecosystem looks like, what are the issues of compatibility. Remember, the moment you start having a cluster of a lot of technologies, you need to spread your cost in terms of human resource or the resources that you need to have. So your cost goes up if you have a disparate system internally. What are the practical steps? What is it that you need to do if you want to go back to the office today and you need to start looking at where do I start? A very good beginning is to do what we call an assessment of a business need, where you just critically look at your business processes. Now when you look at business processes, you don't look at technology. You park the technology in the back end. You look at how do we do business as a business. The way that we do our supply chain, the way we do our HR, is there a better way for us to do that? Can we enhance that process? Can we re-engineer this process? Can we ask ourselves hard critical questions? Why do we do the things that we do in a business? And I think I can relate to this because when I started with Schoemans about 2.5 years ago, this is a business that's about 65 years old. It's an IT business. It's been around for the longest time. I mean, almost close to twice my age. I needed to ask the board, what can we do different as a business? And I used the example of Kodak, Nokia. We're in the printing business as a business. That's our core business. We then also provide a lot of services in terms of your IT, your traditional IT services. But I needed to give my board a bit of a thinking. What's the future? Where are we going as a business? Where is the world evolving? And how do we make a deliberate decision as a business to reposition ourselves for the next growth phase? And I think this is where Skuma's digital solution was actually born, where our focus now, internally as a business, we have re-engineered processes that have been there for the past 60 years. We have brought in new systems, we have automated business. I think in the next ICT Summit, I can actually run an entire business case study of what we have done in a business. We have redeployed people to new businesses. Some tasks that were involved where people have been doing mundane tasks, we have removed that and provide a lot of robotics to deal with those type of issues. A basic thing, for example, in terms of our invoicing, where we have actually automated the invoicing process, where at the click of a button, we can send out invoices to all our clients at a time. So these are some of the stuff in terms of practical stuff that you need to do. Assess the need, what are the problems that you have and what you want to do. Develop a roadmap. Now, my project internally was about a year in terms of from the beginning to the end, re-engineer the process, redesign, bring in the appropriate technology, train the team, deploy, go live, and make sure that the business have achieved what they needed to achieve. What you also need to do is that you can do a basic proof of value, okay? A proof of value is identify one area with a particular department, let's say marketing or HR or finance or operations, gain consensus with the business users in terms of what you want to achieve with this automation project, and then use that proof of value as a small project to gain management buy-in. Because there's a lot of cost involved when you start putting a big project together. We've seen multiple ERP projects really getting into their tracks because of either they're not planned correctly, it's a big bang approach, and but the money's in. You know, big cash has been spent on big ERP systems. 2 years down the line, the implementations of ERP systems are extensively very long. So other challenges that are also sitting there. So I think if you do a proof of value of a small process within the business, we'll just take the onboarding HR process. What is the value that it can bring to us? You do a proof of concept, gain consensus among business users, take that forward, get the management buy-in, and then you spec a bigger project going forward. Fourthly, very, very important, because of the change that will take place and the uncertainty automation and artificial intelligence creates, and it's a discipline that all of us in IT lacks. It's the discipline of change management, particularly on the people side of things. The projects don't collapse because the systems are not great. You know, who agrees with me? The projects of IT don't fail because the systems are great. The projects fail because we have not paid attention to the people side of things. So the change management aspect in terms of how the journey of making sure the users, the management, everybody rally behind the project becomes a very, very critical component of the success of any IT project. And this is the journey that starts not the day that you decide to start the project. It starts like way before time so that you can get everybody. And we take it for granted people will be fine with it. But I think it's very, very important as IT people for us to really start spending a lot of time understanding how do we integrate change management in the discipline of project management. I think we're very, very good in terms of project management and the systems. The area that we really, really lack is the change management, particularly the people side of change. So that's one element. Lastly, with regulations not being in place, with things like the NAM code that we now use as a guide at board levels, a lot of corporate companies, it's important that we look at the issue around data privacy and security issues. Because of the evolution of our laws are not yet there, I think it's upon ourselves and as managers, as leaders in IT, to be proactive, to flag the areas that you potentially see as areas of concerns around data and privacy and security. And I think those are sort of, you could add more, but these are sort of my 5 pointers, really practical stuff that you can take home as a toolkit, as a team, and go back and start doing this in your business. Now, artificial intelligence, automation, robotic process automation, intelligent document processing, all sorts of technologies that we're talking about, if you've heard from the beginning up to now during the day, it's no hype. It's a reality. Reality today, tomorrow, and beyond. So it's important that the issue of adapt or die, it's important that we actually adapt repurpose ourselves as businesses, and then reskill our team to be able to take charge of this new purpose. So I think with that, I would leave you with this deep thought that it's here, like here, right now. When you leave this room, tomorrow morning, Dr. Audrey and Matthew were saying, you open up your machine, there's an update that you need to run on your phone the next 9 hours. So this is a reality, and I think it's upon those businesses that are going to take up the challenge to actually adapt now and make the necessary decisions to actually move forward. I think with that, I come to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much.
We'll not let you go yet. Could be also, you never know. One more time for Mr. Haindura, please. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, here, okay. Yes, I missed his landlines. My knees are weak.
Wonderful.
So I'm a lady, and sometimes I do things like walk up the stage in heels and forget my mic, and it feels like such a stretch. So John, please, would you be a gentleman and grab me my mic?
In a platform like this, I don't have a choice.
And while we get rid of John, let's play a game, shall we? Yes, let's do that. We're about to break away into 3 separate sessions. These will be running concurrently. Our speakers, and I'm putting them on stage right now, they think they've got 30 minutes. They have 15 minutes to convince you why what they're about to present to you is the best thing in the world. But that's for later. Right now, though, the game, wow, English bundles depleted. The game we're about to play is called True or False.
Okay.
Okay? So I want you to use your big girl voice, your big boy voice. No? Can I hear a yes? Can I hear a no? Can I hear a true? A false? Okay. So as we were going through this particular presentation, I wrote down a couple of elements. And I just want you to shout true or false. Pretty basic, pretty simple. You don't have to wiggle. It's very straightforward. Shall we do that? True or false? Digital transformations and AI will steal all our jobs. False. That was a confident no. I love it.
Absolutely.
The second one, true or false? Life is so much harder with digital transformation. False. Good one. The last one, oof, this one is a difficult one. Namibia continues to adopt to digital transformation. I like that one.
Oh, I love the participation. Everybody is so engaged and so, following this. So I love that. I was quite worried because, myself, my mind is gone after that very nice meal that we had. But hey, we got to continue. And of course, we have to pay attention. Let's not forget that we, of course, are going to be engaging with everybody who's going to be here. We get to ask questions. So now we're going to move to the next item, which is the division of the other presentations. We are now going to, move into different breakaways so that we can, of course, choose which one we want to pay attention to at this very juncture. So without further ado, Delilah, take us through.
Yes, exactly. So for these breakaway sessions, please be sure to take a close listen as to which venue you'll be positioned in, and you can choose which session you want to be a part of. Please take note, you cannot be in 2 places at once, so you have to pick one. After these 15 to 20-minute sessions, we will then reconvene here for our final item on the agenda. The first session will be hosted by Nathan Naiduyo, who is the CEO and as well as the founder of Snowed Technologies. This is under the Onyx Business Solutions. This particular topic is titled The Noise Before Defeat, and it is subtitled The Need for Holistic as well as Strategic Threat Management Programs. If you want to hear more about the need for holistic as well as threat management programs, please do stay right here in the plenary venue.
That's right, and we're now going to move into the other breakaways as well. That will be in breakaway B, venue B. That's in Gemsbok, if I pronounce it correctly. That's
Gemsberg.
Gemsberg. Thank you, Delilah. That will be just right opposite this very plenary, and then we're going to have the presentation by Mr. Adolf Fenongo. I hope I did the justice to that. He's the manager for a special project at the MTC, and the title of that topic will be the benefits of smart partnership enabling digital transformation and artificial intelligence. Again, that will be taking place in the plenary, in the hall rather, just opposite the plenary. And if you want to take a look and of course engage in that presentation, we can just move into that hall right after this.
The last venue is that in Ruakana Hall. It is in the Safari Court. That is the venue where we had our lunch, for those of you that joined us. It's just across, it's the building right across from this particular building. So you do have to exit this specific building, go across, and then find Ruakana. It's a little bit of a treasure hunt, hey?
Yes.
And for that one, it will be hosted by Mr. Timotheus Ashipala Shepo, who is the Dean of ICT Facilities as well. This is in IUM. He will be discussing navigating digital transformation as well as AI in Namibia. These are the strategies for building resilience as well as ensuring sustainable growth. Have we heard our venues? Are we aligned? Must we repeat? Okay, one more time. I will see movement, so we should be getting up, we should be moving to the next venue. The first venue, just to repeat again, we've got Safari Court, Rakana Hall, and this is for the panel discussion on navigating digital transformation as well as AI in Namibia, the strategies for building resilience as well as ensuring sustainable growth. The second one is that in the Gemsberg Hall, which is right across from this particular hall, and that particular one handles the topic of building resilient learners in the digital age. And the next venue is this one that we're currently in. So if you're keen on this conversation, stay in this venue. And that particular one will tackle the beautiful topic of the noise before defeat. So let's see some movement. 15 to 20 minutes for each of the presentations, and then we will reconvene right here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
One, two. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd just like to thank the Honorable Minister, all protocols reserved. My name is Nathan Naidu. I'm the CEO and founder of Snow Technologies. Snow Technologies is an African-based cyber defense firm. What we do is, we like to say, it's by us, for us. Everything from the technology, all the way through to the software, all the way through to the people, are all African-based, right? And now, don't get me wrong. We're African-based, but we protect over 8 million devices across 6 continents. And our primary SOC is in Pretoria, in South Africa. Do you guys know where's our secondary SOC? Yes, in Windhoek. So it's Onyx, yes. Well done, ladies. So from here, our African youth provide cyber defense services to some of the biggest clients in the world. Largest IoT plantation in Philippines, where they speak Tagalog. Highest mining operation in South America, where they speak Spanish. And it's all done by our local talent here in Africa. And I think that's incredibly proud for us to be African in that way and to fly both the South African and the Namibian flags all over the world. The other thing is we've won a couple of awards globally, across the continent and nationally. I think the one I'm most proud of is my own country's Innovation Award, and I've got one from the president. I'm a bit of a magician, right? So, you know, like every magician should have a beautiful assistant. So I asked Mildy for Delilah, and I think she misheard me. But in the spirit of adapt or die, I'd like to introduce you to Dylan.
Thank you very much, Nathan. I appreciate it. Thanks so much, everyone. It's great seeing you all. I'm glad a bunch of you stuck around, especially given the, how would I say, ambiguity of the title. Yeah, that was the intention. So, strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. But tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. Now, Sun Tzu came up with this quote many years ago. He's no longer alive, I hope you know that. And it's from The Art of War. Now, we work in cyber defense and cyber offense. And it is warfare. And it's warfare out there. And we know this. So, what happens when you have tactics without strategy? What does that noise look like? It can be many things. It's a lack of visibility. It's disjointed efforts. It's picking a solution that's not compatible to this solution. It's your people getting sick because they're getting overworked. It's response fatigue. Now, this is what it looked like for me the first time. Oh, it's cut off a little bit, but this is what the noise before defeat looks like. So, I used to work in executive protection, bodyguarding, and in this time, the client who was, luckily it was on my training still, but the client gave me the itinerary, and me being trained to shoot, drive, and look cool while doing it, I hope at least. I didn't ask him what are we doing at each of the things, so I didn't actually go through the itinerary with him. The consequence of that was a 3-kilometer run on the beach in my suit with body armor and my weapon, and the day did not get better from there. Now, talking about strategy, and I want to break it down to those basic principles. So, epistemology is the branch of philosophy where it investigates the nature and scope and the limits of knowledge. Now, I know I'm taking this very far back now, but I also studied philosophy, so I do enjoy going far back and talking about things that no longer people care about. But the quote here, so strategy in warfare is the science or the art of employing all military and economic, political, and other resources of a country to achieve the objectives of war. Now, we're not always at war, but let's dig a little bit into it. The term originates from the Greek strategos. Now, it was an elected person in Athens that was responsible for both the political and the military authority, what they presided over. Now, because strategy is the relationship between the means and the ends, the term transcends warfare. Thucydides, in the history of the Peloponnesian War, written 400 BCE, so quite a while ago once again, he talks about the speeches that were given by some of the leaders. Now, it's a marvelous rendition of leaders of different states attempting to persuade their listeners to follow a given course of action. Now, these are always laden with assumptions, like all things are, but the truth of it is, that is what your strategy document is, and that is what your strategy is within an institution, within a business. It is convincing everyone to buy into your idea and explaining to them how you're going to go about achieving that idea. One of my favorite strategic thinkers, Carl von Clausewitz, the picture of the handsome gentleman up front there, says in his introductory note on war, when it is not a question of acting oneself, but of persuading others in discussion, the need for clear ideas and the ability to show the connection between each other is paramount. And that is the essence of that strategic thinking. Now, we all know this one. And let's start explaining it.
I'm going to jump in here. So, you guys know how executives don't fly in a plane together, right? But it's weird because they'll travel in a car together to the airport. You know, the chances of them dying in the car are greater than the chances of them dying in the plane, right? And this is because we let fear dictate a lot of what we do. So, security is not about a product. It's not about a service. And that's the apex or of this talk. It's really about getting the people, the process, and the technology right. And it's what we preach at Onyx and how we protect customers, not only in Namibia, but across the continent and across the world. And data-driven exercises, like we're going to show you today, will help us not only protect your business or protect your home, but will help us protect the country. And a large part of this lies on this equation over here: probability, impact, and risk.
Now, we firmly believe that the previous formula we showed you, it's terrible. Because what can you really do? Can you change the probability of an event? Well, okay, sure. If you can find a threat and maybe get it before it gets you, sure. Can you change the impact of an event? Yes, you can put some mitigating measures in place and you can solve the problems like that. However, think of it from the view of the adversary can see your cyber silhouette. And it's a silhouette because the cyberspace is a murky one. It is covered by the fog of war, a Clausewitzian term. Now, your vulnerabilities and the impact of what an attack against your vulnerabilities would be, or an exploitation of those vulnerabilities, is directly related to your asset. And it's an exponential there, and I do like a little bit of math, because the more important the asset, crown jewels, etc., and your people, which I think is your number one asset, the larger exposure surface you create. And how do we mitigate this? Deception, to remove your silhouette or create even more of a mirage. Funnily enough, that's the product's name. And controls. Controls you can put in place through cybersecurity, products, solutions, and your actual processes. Now, the terminology I have here is adversaries see your organization's cyber silhouette. Those vulnerabilities are targeted to gain access to those assets. Assets are categorized by criticality, hence asset. And the deception conceals the disruption, and controls cover the exposure surface, and less exposure means less risk.
Now, what's wrong with the way we do things today? Right? Firstly, penetration testing. So let me start with the beginning. You know, technology has evolved rapidly over the last couple of years, right? And threat actors have evolved rapidly over the last couple of years. But we as defenders, we haven't. So our solutions for things, signature-based antivirus, dates back to McAfee and the 80s, and we still use that today. We still try and solve security problems with penetration testing, and penetration testing, I'm a penetration tester. That is my job. That's what I did for 20 years, but it has its place and its limitations. Number one is it's a very vulnerability-centric. It looks for the flaws. It's also point in time, right? And vulnerabilities move at such a rapid pace that if I look in your environment now, there's no guarantee that you'll be safe next week, right? So the entire presentation that we're giving you today is how do we overcome this? What Dylan's saying by that equation is you can't just be vulnerability-centric. You need to be asset-centric because you don't know what you don't know. You don't know if you've got code in a repository sitting somewhere in the cloud. You don't know whether your staff are using GPT and uploading your confidential data. And as a nation, although ransomware is very, very active, it's easy to see, it's like a rash, right? Nation-state attackers stealing our IP, stealing our crown jewels, these things are very benign. It's like a cancer, it happens quietly. But it does happen. Survey information for mines, those kinds of things. Our conversations, our leadership. It's hard in the digital age to keep a secret. So The third part is threat-centric. I was watching this movie Alien over the weekend. You guys know the Alien movie, right? And it always happens. They jump onto the ship to escape the alien, but the alien's on board. And in this, I don't want to spoil the movie, it just came out. But in this one, it's in a womb, which was terrifying. But the point I'm trying to make is, it doesn't matter that you have these fortress-type applications of defense, layered defense, or defense in depth, as we call it, if the threat is already inside. So the third part is vulnerability-centric, asset-centric, and threat-centric. How can I get a view on all three, and how can I get a view of it across multi-cloud, IoT, OT, IT? And how can I do that in real time, all the time, for all time?
Well, this is how we do it. We think of a threat management program, a continuous program. Now, everybody loves, and I am the first one to say it, everyone loves calling a strategy document a living document. You know, it's supposed to grow with the organization. So what does it need to be a living document? It needs a body. Now, that can be your sensors, being your security incident and event management tool, where you ingest your logs and you're able to actually see what you can see. Then you get your nervous system. That's your security orchestration and automated response. You can imagine that as your body that is constantly working towards the means that it has to. You can figure out it as an immune system, as in the protections that you have to put in place, everything from your firewalls to your detection. Now, why do people get sick? Well, it could be a virus, it could be lifestyle, just like it could be processes that are failing you, or it could be the technology, or a lack of configuration, or at least that's what people say. Now, this is a pretty broad breakdown, and I know there's a lot on a slide, and that's rule one that I broke when I made this slide when it comes to making a presentation. But this is the way we approach it, where it is a continuous threat program. And it is through that program that you are able to collect the sum is greater than the parts. That's how we approach it. Now, how do we articulate this risk to get buy-in? You got to speak the language of the organization or the language of the business where you are. You have to frame cybersecurity issues in terms of their impact on these business goals or organizational country goals, such as revenue and reputation and operational continuity. For example, instead of discussing the technical details of a vulnerability, emphasize how it could lead to significant financial loss or damage to the company's brand if exploited. We also have to quantify these things because companies are run by accountants. You have to use metrics that matter to the board, such as this potential financial loss, regulatory fines, downtime costs, everything you need to articulate that threat and that risk. You have to prioritize those risks based on impact, focusing on the high impact threats to present the most critical risks to the institution could significantly affect your business. Use clear examples, such as recent breaches. This is how we try to get that buy-in, because I think it's a lot easier to talk about MGM Grand being hacked and the consequences thereof, SEC declarations and all that, as opposed to having to tell them you're at risk. Use risk scenarios, as explained, and it helps to visualize them. And we do have a talk tomorrow at 11 that Nitz is giving where we show how we visualize those types of scenarios. Emphasize that return on investment and your competitive advantage. And I love the previous speaker that he spoke about this, and I think it's been a common thread throughout the talks where we have to be explaining why the cents are being spent right. And that competitive advantage part of it, customers today see these cyber attacks happening and they see people being exploited and they see these events. If you can provide assurance to your customers that you have a comprehensive cybersecurity threat management program, it gives you that competitive advantage as well. It is a market differentiator. Simplify the jargon. Oh, this one. Do not say there is a 0-day vulnerability to your board, because they will ask you, all right, but what happens in day one? Comes from experience. And use visuals to explain this. Charts, graphs, attack paths. Let them understand it in the way that they know it. Propose clear and actionable plans. Present solutions, not just problems. I think we've all seen it if anyone trying to get budget, especially when we were kids, when you wanted to go get something. Don't tell them, I am hungry, I am hungry, I am hungry. Tell them, give me money and I'll make you food. We'll see if the trust goes for a long way there. And then demonstrate that preparedness. Highlight your organization's existing preparedness in terms of your incident response plans, your risk register, your asset register. Show that you have a handle on that cyber realm. And then finally, highlight the regulatory and legal implications. Compliance, because that is the language that the lawyers and the accountants love, and it is the best way to get buy-in. And emphasize those legal risks, such as the potential for class action lawsuits, the fines that you would have to pay, or the way the trajectory we're going now, there's imprisonment terms for lack of due diligence. So to end it off with, and I hit it exactly at 16:36, so just between 15 and 20 minutes, let's connect. You know, it's a QR code. I promise you it's not a malicious one. Scan it at your own risk, I suppose. No, it's not bad. It's just my number. But thank you very much. It has been lovely being able to engage with you. If there is any questions, we do have a couple of minutes. So fire away, please.
Just a quick question from this side. So
Sure.
we spoke about AI just recently. Generative AI is quite a big thing in the cyberspace as well. Now, instead of a cat and mouse scenario, how do you go about trying to get... Oh, sorry. I was trying to use my outdoor voice there. Hi, everybody. Just quickly, so what I was asking about is generative AI. Yes, we can put a lot of honeypots and things like that around the world to try and learn lessons from what everyone is doing, but from a defensive perspective, how do we go about learning more or quicker and faster than what these honeypots can learn? I mean, AI is not really a robot that sits on the internet. It's basically just the internet and somebody that's managed to control it in a certain way. So how do we go about getting the right information or getting the right models in place to be defensive up front, if that question.
It does make sense. So it's a brilliant question because the title is The Noise Before Defeat. And the idea is not to wait for the attack. That's very responsive, right? In any event, there are precursors to attacks. And there's sort of trend analytics that you can do. So what we use is we use AI for predictive and prescriptive analytics. Predictive, we try to predict the outcome before it happens so that you can respond proactively. And then the prescriptive analytics helps us, A, we respond automatically with the AI, and then two, it prescribes what you can do going forward in order to address the root cause. Because you must remember, you get a virus, you're removing the virus, you're just treating the symptom, right? You need to understand what's the root cause. Is it user education? Is it poor perimeter security? Is, it's poor configuration on your host? Understanding the true root cause of the problem will allow you to strengthen your posture and reduce the probability of a follow-on attack. Perfect. Any more questions? So ladies and gentlemen, we do have a stall just here behind us. If you guys want to come and talk to me, please feel free. I'd love to meet you guys. Thank you all so much for your time. And yeah, that's us. From me and my lovely assistant, not Delilah. We'll see you guys soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Even with the latest security technology, the increase in zero-day attacks creates perimeter security challenges. Ransomware can cripple entire infrastructures, resulting in weeks of downtime, significant financial loss, and exposure to extortion and sensitive data leaks that could harm your brand's reputation. Sooner or later, an attack will slip through. How will you protect your most valuable assets? Your data. Introducing Bullwall Ransomware Containment. Bullwall contains an active ransomware attack in seconds. It stops data encryption and exfiltration. Bullwall uses 28 sensors and machine learning to monitor file activity and identify abnormal events. When Bullwall detects malicious encryption, it stops the active attack within seconds, quarantines the infected user and device, and protects your critical IT infrastructure and data on premises and in the cloud.
TMU SDS, powering Namibia with cutting-edge ICT solutions. Innovate, connect, lead. Future-proof ICT, powered by TMU.
I should indicate that our school is one of the performing schools in our country, and there is one of the reasons why it is as such is because it's fully integrated with technology. My name is Phineas Ekongo, heading Oshigambo High School. Oshigambo is an educational organization that provides education and academic services to our students. Nowadays, students are more on technology. If you want the student to pay attention to your teaching and learning, to your lesson, if you want the students to concentrate, it's only once you are integrating technology in your lesson. And that's one aspect that have to be really considered. Now, education nowadays is no longer about textbook and an educator or a teacher. It is about other aspects that have to be looked at. And for us to have all the resources, we have to gather all the resources only through connectivity, internet connectivity. Because you see what is happening with MTC. Now, number one is speed. Number two is reliable. Number three is stable. Number four is the team. Now, we are talking about support. Whenever we happen to experience a very little problems and then you have to give them a call, now the team will be available, and after all the problem is rectified. And that's exactly why we decided to say MTC is the best for us.
Oh, hi there, I am Zolt. I'm Zolt's customer service helper at your service 24/7, 365. Go groovy, baby. I'll answer your questions and point you to the right place or human to find the stuff you're looking for.
Where were you when you heard about the drought relief program? Where were you when the first kidney transplant in Namibia was done? Where were you when businesses were looking for employees? Where were you when the president announced the Harambee Prosperity Plan? Wherever you were, New Era made sure that you were informed.
Well, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience once again. We do apologize for taking some time. There was a bit of a confusion with the plenaries and the plenary and the other breakaway sessions, but please give that very comprehensive presentation. We are very grateful, and this is of course for you and your partner who have given us such a, making the time to be with us as a stakeholder to give all the necessary knowledge to our audience that's here today. Thank you so much. All right, let me just perhaps give some corrections because I think, took a bit of a speed bump, by giving you guys the directions into which sessions we are going to break away in. But now we're going to have the next one, which is going to be a presentation that was initially supposed to be done here before we had the gentleman who just did the presentation on a sound of defeat. We're now going to welcome Mr. Klaus von Kries, AVM Berlin, Germany, who's going to give us the presentation on real-time monitoring in a home network. Mr. Klaus is now here. Please, let's give him a round of applause as we welcome him on stage. All right, and then up next, we are going to be, of course, also welcome Mr. Bartholomeus Shileka. He's going to be up next to give us the presentation on building resilient learners in the digital age. Please just be on standby, Mr. Bartholomeus. Of course, your presentation will be up next year. All right, I hope you're all well. I hope you're all, engaging. I think what we, missed to also give a note to you guys is that you can also point your questions or, ask your questions when the presentation, or after the presentation rather, and then we can, of course, get those curious questions answered by our presentations.
Good day. It's wonderful to have you. Didn't expect to be here, but I appreciate that. Thank you. So I'm going to tell you a bit about real-time monitoring in Wi-Fi environments. Just a couple of words on our company. I'm from the company AVM. My name is Klaus von Kries. I'm the area sales manager for Southern Africa. And we produce the Fritzbox. So we've been founded in 1986 and we've been privately held, and we're still based in Berlin, and where we do software, hardware development, and and that's something I'm going to talk about the new Wi-Fi standards. Let me see how to get forward in this direction, they told me. Nothing happens. Okay. Help. Here we go. So, challenges with home networks. If you come in the network, and this is no different here either, if you just scan your local networks, then you will see that you have increasing number of broadband connections, and you're getting devices connected to your local network, and the homes are getting bigger and bigger, so you have like a total of, at least they say currently, a minimum of 20 devices in your local network competing. And if you're now in crowded areas, like in cities, etc., you see many, many SSIDs, and they're competing with the frequencies and such. So there's an increasing need for a stable, intelligent Wi-Fi network. So what's the approach to that? No, that was wrong. I tried to do that, but thank you. Pressing. Aha. something happened. So now the thing is, if we look at Wi-Fi, it's not just you can extend the strength as much as you like to, because you have regulating authorities in Namibia, for instance, the Central Regulation Authority of Namibia, CRAN, and they define how strong is the signal to be allowed. So very often I'm getting asked like, how strong is this? How many meters does it do? That's the wrong question. Then the question is like, how strong is it supposed to be? And then we need to meet that regulation. Within that regulation, we do the maximum. That doesn't say anything, right? So the second thing is we need to see how to have the right strategy in order to tackle that. So we have now the physical specifications. Now we need to see what to make the best of that. So if the signal strength of a Wi-Fi signal is not good enough, we need to repeat it, and we need to have strategies in order to have seamless handovers between these different access points. So therefore, the strength of the signals getting enhanced, the channel bandwidth between the radio signals is getting wider, so therefore the QAM cells are getting with every Wi-Fi standard higher, so we're talking Wi-Fi 5, 6, 6E, now 7, and therefore you're getting higher maximum signal and higher maximum bandwidth through that. So that increasing number of broadband fiber optics lines, we need to have a growing need of higher rates in Wi-Fi, and this is what these new standards are bringing forward, and we're going to have a closer look into that. Aha, okay. So there are different standards in Wi-Fi. So we're looking into Wi-Fi 5, which is broad and widely available, and we have Wi-Fi 6. What's the difference? So you hear all these different numbers and such. Why is it more important to have a later technology? Well, the question is, where are you? Are you having a congested network? Are you not having a congested network? If we're looking at Wi-Fi 5, for instance, then we see every client is getting a specific allocated data. So that means I'm sending the data first to you, then the next one is getting it, then the next one is getting it. If you don't need it, and we all have cell phones right lying around and they're all connected to the Wi-Fi network, they're all getting the same amount allocated. Now, if we're looking into an older standard like Wi-Fi 4, like Wi-Fi 5, then this data, if it's not getting used, is ending up into the bin. So you can't pass on that data to the next one. So with Wi-Fi 6, this is actually changing because we have a technology which is OFDMA. You can create sub-channels and you can allocate the traffic which is only relevant for you. So if you don't need any traffic, you're not getting any traffic. You're forwarding it to the next one. And that means, and this is what this graph is actually showing you, that as soon as you have a congested network in Wi-Fi 5, because everyone is getting the same amount of traffic allocated, then the traffic will break in and your performance will break in, even if they're not using it. And that's a huge problem. With Wi-Fi 6, we have a game-changing technology with OFDMA. Now everyone, even if you have congested networks, your performance is not breaking in because only those people are getting the traffic who really need it, while everyone else is happily bypassed. Next, if you can. I see. Okay, so what does Wi-Fi 6 actually offer for us? So you have the possibility to mark your networks, because it's not only that you send something, but you're not getting disturbed. That is something like if you have a neighbor, you hear someone sneezing, you're responding to that, right? Of these different networks, you get a bit of a more stable network performance. Then you have higher speeds, up to 40% in difference to Wi-Fi 5. And let's not forget, the problem before is like you had Wi-Fi 4, which was only 2.4 gigahertz, Wi-Fi 5, which was only exclusively for 5 gigahertz, but you could not use them together. With Wi-Fi 6, you can now combine the two technologies. You have less latencies, and this way you have much more optimized data transmissions. You have WPA3 as a standard now, which is offering you the highest security and Wi-Fi, and much better battery life. And that's a problem if you're connecting with everything over Wi-Fi, which is battery-driven, a lot of smart home devices, etc. But also if you're looking into stocks, like if you have modern current logistics, and you need to know where's your pallet, then the pallet is giving you the information, I'm here, and then powering down for the next 24 hours. So you can actually last with a battery for several weeks. So these kind of technologies are all embedded on Wi-Fi 6. And now I hope to get back my remote control. Thank you. Right, so Wi-Fi 7 is even further, so you can get really huge data streams like beyond 6 gigabits per second. So in fact, if you have like a Wi-Fi 7 router with 4x4, then you can achieve alone in 6 gigahertz now stunning 11 gigabits per second. So if you have then a triple radio router like with 2.4, 5 gigahertz and 6 gigahertz, then you can really achieve 20 megabits per second of a Wi-Fi. The thing is, these high performances are in close range. So don't expect, like if you have a 5 gigahertz or 6 gigahertz connection, that this will be three rooms later is still available without any extra infrastructure. So this is only happening if you're having then the right mesh setup. But it does bring the improvement that you have now 2.4, 5, and 6 gigahertz back, and you can switch between these frequencies very, very fast in order to have a seamless handover. And you can really have higher channel bandwidths from 320 megahertz. So that means at 6 gigahertz, and that is extremely wide. You can really get a ton of information pumped through. That is getting more and more relevant with fiber speeds. I mean, if we're now looking at 2 gigabit and 10 gigabit connections that are achievable over fiber, and this is something where you can deliver and distribute into your local network. Now let's have a look on the different evolutions. So in Wi-Fi 5, we were having 256 QAM, and you had 80 megahertz bandwidth streams. And with Wi-Fi 6, this was doubling already and quadrupling the QAM cell. And then you could achieve like a difference from 4x4 in Wi-Fi 5, you would have 1.7 gigabits per second. Now you're having 4.8, and the list goes on. So with Wi-Fi 7 now, at Wi-Fi 6, having 320 megahertz of bandwidth, you would have 4 kilo QAM cells with a stunning 11 gigabits per second. That all comes with a price. So if you're looking now at Wi-Fi 7 with 4 kilo QAM cells, then the range is rather short. As soon as you're getting into lower frequencies, then you can see that the reach out is much better. And the good thing is you can combine these now, because you don't have to use one standard to the other. You can use all 3 frequencies at once. So now, once you have that, if we have a network in place, now the thing is we need to optimize it on a regular basis. And so for that we use mesh systems. Mesh are the opposite of a classic repeater setup. In a classic repeater setup you would have different SSIDs, and these SSIDs are then competing with each other. They share the same name and the same encryption, but there is no true intelligence in between them. So there is no instance with us doing smooth handover between these different access points. And this is what we do then difference in the mesh. So here we only share one SSID, and it doesn't matter how many access points you actually have. So this can be 2 access points, it can be 10 access points. It doesn't matter. And so if you have like also an hotel or like here, and you go to the different stores, you always have only one SSID for the network, but you have several access points. And in between, you have an managing instance, a self-optimizing network in the mesh master, which is then handing you from one access point to the other. Through that, you also have then different VLANs for prioritizations, etc. So if you have different services that you're distributing, let's talk about IPTV, video streaming, telephony, and whatnot. So all these are then getting accordingly handled. And then you can really extend from a small network to a larger network. Now, with that, you have 2 options now to handle the network and to manage the network. One is from the end user side, and the other one is from the ISP side. So from the end user side, we're, for instance, offering tools in which we do an analyzing, in which you can see what is the topology of the local network. So you see, in fact, who's connected with what speed and how to improve my situation, and you would get an indication where to position a repeater or not if you're doing it in a self-installed method. If you're looking into the services, for instance, that an ISP is providing, normally it's like the customer complains, and you hear that often enough. I already had today many calls, people coming by telling me, oh, my internet is so slow. So then you have a complaining consideration, and this is coming together where you can say, okay, you can proactively approach these kind of customers if this information is available. So if you have a complaint, for instance, then you would say, okay, the range is not good enough, or the internet connection is too slow. And very often, clients are not able to determine where is the problem. Is it a Wi-Fi problem? Is it an internet connectivity problem? And this is where we need more tools in order to troubleshoot that connection. There are industry standards in order to do that. So Tier 69 is one very well-established standard, which is a mass provisioning protocol over which you can also monitor devices. So you can always request the status. So if a customer, for instance, then would say, I'm having a problem with my network, then the ISP can, in the help desk, can connect to the device, have a deeper look inside, and then determine where might be the problem. That is already a pretty good thing, but there are better solutions in that respect. I mean, you can then take the whole topology and parse it into a JSON file and then put it onto your own display in order to have a quick analysis of the problem in that. These are all standards which have been well determined by the industry, but they have been aged. So we have a new standard which is coming from Tier 69, which is 369, which is also called USB, User Service Platform. So that platform is now a comparable game changer like it is with the different Wi-Fi standards, meaning before you had to request or wait from a request from a customer and then you could respond to something and be active. Now with USB, you have a constant connection. That means you can now proactively monitor your customer and maybe even through alarms that you have predefined, determine there is a situation the customer might be aware or not be aware, but I can now proactively approach that customer in order to offer a solution. So if we just compare these two standards with each other, with USB, you have now a permanent connection and you have also no network address translation problems, which you very often do have with Tier 69. And you can have multiple controllers, which are then putting the whole picture for you together. And the whole thing is really happening in real time. It's a very, very lean protocol in comparison to Tier 69. And therefore, you can afford to have a constant connection without jamming your network. This is a comparison, for instance. On the right side, you see Tier 69, which is holding some information of a CPE available. The same information, like this is 8 kilobytes on the right side, the same information is available on USB, only using half a kilobyte. And that is showing you why it is possible to give you that instant information in real time without jamming your and clogging your data connections. So 369 is the next approach in this regard. And now there are multiple ways in order to make that a better experience for the end customers. So for instance, here you have a topology of a Fritzbox in a mesh network, and you see exactly this kind of information. You see the upload, and you see the connection speed. You see even behind the repeaters what kind of connection it is. You have a complete overview. This information needs to be available in real time because these people are moving around, and sometimes, let's say, cleaning lady stopped by, removed one of the repeaters because needed to vacuum or to iron whatsoever, and then later on finding out, okay, I need to reconnect that somewhere else, but this time using a different socket. So the repeater is no longer in an ideal situation, and therefore you have created a bottleneck situation. The customer will only feel something went wrong, and now we need to determine how to respond to that. And There are different providers, like Axiros is one very popular ACS vendor in that regard, which is also known here in Namibia. And then another one, for instance, is Easy Solution. And this, you can read what is happening, and then you can get in touch with the customer in order to see what to change in order to get things right again. So right now you can see here there is this iPhone moving towards the router, and in between you have then the different access points and other clients in there. So this can be also then put in data, and then you can have alarms when you see, you would be like the green area is good, while the yellowish reddish area is not ideal. And therefore, if most of the clients would be in that area, you might take in consideration to install some repeaters or power line adapters. All right, so this kind of information is all based on open standards. So that is something where you can really achieve that information without paying extra money for that. So all you need to have is a standard which is recognized by the industry. 369 does do that, and therefore the information stays where it belongs to, at the customer and the ISP, but not any third party. And this is exactly what it's about, because that's also a matter of security. Battery drained again. Here we go. So this is a standard which has been approved and now used by Vodafone, by Telecom Italia Mobile. So big telecoms. United Internet is a very big ISP in Germany. And so, in Ireland there's an ISP which is saying say goodbye to not spots. So that is really something which has been accepted by the market, and where you really have a good end user experience. And so therefore this is something really stepping forward. And we see that also now in Southern Africa, where this is getting, especially in South Africa, where this is getting more and more a want-to-have technology. Right, so these mesh technologies are the way to do that kind of infrastructure, and Tier 69 and Tier 369 are the best way in order to offer you a safe and secure way to manage that and be proactively towards your customer. And through that you have the experience to give your customers an experience they haven't seen before. Struggling again. Thank you. Thank you very much. If you have questions, feel free. Now is a good time. Otherwise, I really appreciate your attention. Thank you.
One more time for Mr. Klaus. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you very much. Now we are a little bit behind time, and we're just now going to advise our presentations, or our presenters rather, to just take us through as quick as they can, so that we make sure that we close off in time. All right, the next presentation is that of Mr. Bartholomew Shileka, the founder and chief executive officer at EduTech Namibia. Please, let's give him a round of applause as he makes to his stage, building resilient learners in the digital age. Thank you so much.
A very good afternoon to everyone. My name is Bartholomew Shileka. I'm from the Educational Technology of Namibia. So basically what happens is Educational technology focuses onto digital and electronic simulation to enhance the sustainable goals, the SDG goals, mostly quality education, SDG goal number 4. The sustainability of education, Education 0.4, it's more about the paradigm shift that aligns with the 4th industrial revolution, which mainly focuses on the advance of technologies and automation. And its characteristics is through resilient learners, meaning the learning should be personalized. That's why in many cases, we only have one person or one student, which ever since through our academics is always number 1. Is because we didn't have enough of preferred learning styles. And this includes now to personalize the learning so we can include inclusive education within the curriculum and education ecosystem. Number 1, personalized learning includes the diverse of auditory. Many of the students, they prefer learning by hearing, some reading and writing, some they prefer via kinesthetic, by doing. And if you see the social constructivism, that's where students in classes such as technological classes and tools of development need to work together so they can bring up a goal for a certain objective. Social constructivist class emphasizes more of students who are doing, and a tutor or a facilitator is only there to guide their learning process. And education, I want to emphasize this point, it's not necessarily that it's only taking in class, but it's also engaging with varieties starting from the household. And learning takes place everywhere and elsewhere. Technological integrations emphasizes more of learners using digitalization, simulations, additional more of comprehensive of AI tools and other artificial intelligence tools that encompasses with technology. Oh, it's too fast. Okay, with Education 4.0, in order for us to achieve the industrial revolution with digitalization, we have to understand of building resilience, whereby we have to get the digital literacy with all the compartments of digitalization, whereby we have to get the critical thinking and analysis applied by the truth of owners. That could be now bringing creativity and innovation within the education ecosystem. This is the most important slide of my presentation. The rectangular block in the middle emphasizes how education is integrated in the ecosystem of education. Number 1, if you see the theoretical compartment, our classes, our students, they are only taught theory in class and then they jump to practical analysis, hands-on learning. This is whereby they jump technology. For example, students who are doing practical analysis, they are more into engaging on, they first start with a theoretical class and then they literally jump to a practical lesson. And that's where lecturers are not really getting objectives of their lessons. It's because simulations or artificial intelligence is jumped or is given a gap between the two compartments. And therefore now, the educational technology of Namibia emphasizes more of giving simulating a class before practical applications, meaning students that are engaged or are encouraged to have a practical class and they go to the practical application so they can have more of in-depth of what is going on. Mostly on the TVET industry, more of the students or more of the vocational providers, they don't have these applications and resources to buy necessary equipment due to cost and also due to competencies. That's why now engaging simulations in classroom or in community engagement is very essential. Leveraging technology within these simulations in ecosystem is very important. Hence, we give the adaptations and the active of learning platform, such as now the AI tools that we normally use, all of us, and also integrating the tutorial systems. With this, that's where now you see it's a wave system, because all these things, the steps are aligning to each other, giving the notifications and the identifications of how to achieve the Education 4.0, which aligns exactly with the sustainable goals. Probably sustainable goal number 4, quality education. This is a resilient picture of how the community is given an impact, challenges or positive outcome with these tools. Number 1, the tools or the simulations that are being created, they are incorporated with an open source, so students with varieties of background can also utilize these simulations for digitalization. So at the end of the day, we want to include inclusive education and also attainability to include everyone to have an open source of education. Number 2 now, with all the development of these tools, students are incorporated to develop these simulations also with artificial intelligence, meaning the students in the society currently, they are engaged with digitalization so they can be able to give an outcome of their objective so learning can be easier from their home place or from their classroom intelligence. And that is what we mean by involving students in simulations development. Having said that, may I say, educational technology of Namibia is a mixed cocktail of technologies. And all this inclination is a capability to capacitate the 4th industrial revolutions, and that's where the world is heading to. And this comes to the end of my presentation. Any question? Okay, thank you. No questions.
Wonderful. Let's give him a round of applause, please, Mr. Bartholomeus.
I love this. The age of digital transformation and embracing it means being able to grow yourself, and through opportunities like this, like building resilient learners, this is really where it begins, right? We need to start from grassroots. If we don't start with the learners, how then can they be able to transcend it forward, right? Beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, he's taking you. Oh. Okay. Better picture. And do you want to take it long because we are very behind time? Yeah, exactly. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, okay, here we go.
The middle.
Yeah, definitely. Wonderful. All right, we are almost there. Please, let's not get exhausted yet. Let's still, have our attention to the next items. We'll just have a few before we get to, close today, the opening day of the 8th National ICT Summit.
That's right. Please can I call on the assistance of our team to bring on the chairs for the panel discussion. We will be having a panel discussion starting shortly. This particular one is titled Navigating Digital Transformation as well as AI in Namibia. And it's subtitled Strategies for Building Resilience as well as Ensuring Sustainable Growth. Again, please can I call upon the assistance of our team to bring forth the chairs for our panelists. And once that is done, we will call forth our panelists.
All right, and for the panelists that are going to be part of the panel, Mr. Tonata Ngifiteko, the head of IT and digitalization at DBN, as well as Dr. Paulos Shetekela, the director of ICT services at the IUM. We also have Mr. Kenneth Neumbo, the manager at ICT Core Technology Infrastructure at the city of Windhoek, and we also have Mr. Gerhard Sneiderville, the manager director at Green Enterprise Solution, as well as finally Mr. Philemon Johannes, the deputy director at the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology. So the panelists, please just move closer, and then once the setup has been done, we can make our way straight to the stage, of course, to start swiftly with this very important discussion. But for all of you, thank you so much once again for your patience. Thank you so much for gracing this very event. We are now going to move closer to the end, so please, let's settle in, let's enjoy, and let's get ready for the next one.
Namibians, are you ready to be a part of the 8th National ICT Summit? This is your chance to be a driving force in the
chairs
digital
are making their way
transformation
onto
of
the stage. Please, can I ask all of those of us that are in the back seats to just make our way closer to the front? Kindly get up and fill up the front seats.
Namibians, are you ready to be a part of the 8th National ICT Summit? This is your chance to be a driving force in the digital transformation of our nation. The National ICT Summit will take place from the 9th to the 11th of September 2024 at the Maker Hotel in Windhoek. This event will bring together industry leaders, policymakers, and tech enthusiasts like yourself to explore the latest advancements and innovations in the field of ICT. Don't miss this opportunity to network, collaborate, and gain valuable insights that will shape the future of Namibia's digital landscape. Register now on the summit's website and be part of the conversation that will propel our country to the forefront of the digital revolution. Let us build resilience to adapt in the era of digital transformation and artificial intelligence.
It is quite crucial for Namibia to host the National ICT Summit due to a number of factors, of which one, it is a platform for innovation and local economic growth, knowledge exchange, and networking opportunities. Two, it is a base for national policy development, skills development, and capacity building. Namibia hosting an ICT summit should be seen as a strategic move aiming at promoting, advancing, and showcasing our technological innovations as a country and as an ICT sector. Global ICT sector is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, after the financial service sector. Therefore, Namibia cannot afford to not be a key player within this sector. The theme of this year's MICT Summit is building resilience to adapt or die in the era of digital transformation and artificial intelligence. How relevant is this year's theme to the mandate of Powercom? Powercom is a key enabler in digital transformation. At Powercom, we build strong foundations and bridges that hold and enable ICT infrastructure across all 14 regions and 121 constituencies in Namibia. One of our core values is agility, which defines our flexibility and proactiveness to adapt to environmental changes as we pursue the journey of driving and enabling digital transformation of lives, which is our vision. Therefore, the theme is 100% relevant and aligned to Powercom role and mandate. I would therefore like to encourage public participation in the 8th National ICT Summit. Be part of this historic National ICT Summit and join the industry leaders and key players who are shaping the future of Namibia as far as ICT development and advancement is concerned. It is indeed the opportunity to connect with key players and learn about the latest trends within the ICT sectors. You should not be left out. Show up, connect, participate, and engage at this year's National ICT Summit to be held on the 9th to the 11th of September 2024 at Mercure Hotel in Windhoek. We look forward to seeing you as we usher this great nation in the next era of technological excellence.
All right, so that was the CEO of Powercom who just shared his, of course, sentiments on the importance of this very event that we are, of course, now having here at the Mercure Hotel in Windhoek, and we are so grateful to have all these industry leaders, of course, to deliberate on such important issues as far as ICT is concerned. And now we are moving to that part.
Exactly. Our panel discussion for today is titled Navigating Digital Transformation as well as AI in Namibia, and subtitled Strategies for Building Resilience and Ensuring Sustainable Growth. We'd now like to call the moderator to take a seat. The moderator of this particular panel discussion is Mr. Timotheus Ashipala Shepo, the Dean of ICT Faculty at IUM.
All right, and the panelists, we're going to begin with Mr. Tonatang Ifiteko. He is the head of IT and digitalization at the Development Bank of Namibia. Mrs. rather, my sincere apologies for that. I feel terrible for that. Oh, really? All right, thank you so much. Welcome. Please, you may make your way to the stage. You can just sit next to our moderator here, Mr. Timotheus. Up next, we also have Dr. Paulos Shetekela, the Director of ICT Services at the International University of Management. And we also like to welcome the next panelist as well, Mr. Kenneth Neumbo, the Manager of ICT Core Technology Infrastructure at the City of Windhoek. Last, of course, equally joining the panel on stage, we have Mr. Gerhard Snijderveld, the Managing Director at Green Enterprises Solutions Pty Limited. Please make your way and also just sit next to, that is Mr. Kenneth. And then last but not least, Mr. Philemon Johannes, also representing the host of this ICT Summit under the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology. Please, let's give all of them a round of applause and, of course, hand over to our moderator, Mr. Timotheus, as we begin the panel discussion.
Directors of proceedings, thank you very much. I'm very glad today to be moderating this session titled Navigating Digital Transformation and AI in Namibia, Strategy for Building Resilience and Ensuring Sustainable Growth. We have heard our panelists, they were already introduced. Just a brief description of what we are going to discuss in this discussion. As we all are aware, as Namibia embarks on its journey through digital transformation and the integration of artificial intelligence, the nation, as it was alluded earlier, now faces a critical challenge of building resilient in an era where the mantra adapt or die resonate more than ever. So this panel discussion will then explore the unique opportunities and challenges that Namibia faces in embracing digital and AI technology. So the key focus for this session will include the role of education and skill development, the impact on various sectors such as agriculture, healthcare, and mining, and the importance of inclusive policies to ensure that no one is left behind. We will also look at providing actionable insights and strategy for Namibia to not only survive, but thrive in the era of digital transformation and AI, ensuring that the nation builds a resilient, inclusive, and sustainable digital future. Without further ado, I will get into the discussion. I will start with Dr. Paulus Shetekela, just to give us an insight on the education and skill development in Namibia. So Dr. Shetekela, in what ways can Namibia education system be reformed to better prepare the workforce for the digital age, particularly in AI and digital literacy?
Thank you very much. It's a good question. First of all, before we start to reform or finding ways to reform our education system, is to understand the status of our current education system, and looking also at the aspect of the developed professionals that we have already, whether we are achieving what we are achieving. If not, then it would be ignorant for one not to understand why we need the reform. And the first thing that we need to look at is the curriculum modification. That means we need to modernize our curriculum that will fit and develop the future needed skills, and to ensure that the profile set skills of every individual in every area attains the digital literacy. So in the digital literacy here, we're not only referring to how to use Microsoft Office, but we need to have some people that understand, or everybody that understands the bits and bytes of the information set up on a computer. So once you have that, then it's the basis, foundation that everyone would have the skills and knowledge to apply every application in whatever it's Microsoft Office package or any other Office package that can be used in terms of word processing. In the other aspect is that the education curriculum does not only need to be modernized. Once you have modernized it, then you must make sure that you ensure that the educators are retrained to provide the right skills with the use of digital tools. Now, our schools, but if there is anyone who have attended schools 20 years ago, like myself, I visited my school recently, and the school classrooms look same as I left it in 2000. So now it tells you exactly what we need. And therefore, there is good emphasis that we are in this era. Technologies are developed already. We can use that, but have emphasized on developing the right skills in our individuals or learners, that they would ensure that we develop also technology that we can reuse. And that's the era of AI. So in the AI era, we need not only to use applications that were developed, but to understand how it was built, where it came from, and to have the set of skills in every individual, mostly in the area of those that are doing ICT, have the skills specialized to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shetekela. Moving on, I would like to ask Mr. Snedevel from one of the leading ICT solution entity in Namibia, just to give us perhaps some of the examples of successful AI implementation in Namibia, particularly in the sectors like agriculture, healthcare, mining, or tourism, or if there is any.
Thank you very much for your jam-packed question. So yes, I definitely need to articulate it for you, and really just want to set the scene and briefly explain AI, just very briefly. I know that we have been here the entire day, and we are fortunate to have the second last slot, so I'll try to be as fast as possible. So AI, it's really looking at a an assistant, that smart assistant that the more you expose that assistant to things you are busy with, the more they learn and actually the better they get. And that's pretty much the digital assistant that's in the palm of your hands really, and making sure that you look good. Now, when I need to zoom into the sector, I mean, it's evident that we need, that organizations do need partners to make this a success. You cannot do it alone. And to zoom into Namibia, we are moving from the experimentation stage into production. So fairly early stages for Namibia when it comes to AI. But I have to say that the adoption is there. We are playing with it. And it's a matter of rolling it out now in bigger scales. So when we look at agriculture, I mean, agriculture, how can we apply it? And things that I can think of is, should I say, precision farming and smart irrigation. Looking at really putting a lot of sensors on your farm and making sure that you can monitor what's happening, monitor your crops so that you can get good understanding of how your soil health is, and also the, should I say, if there's any wastage as an example. However, I have to admit that when we zoom into Namibia, our farmers really, our small-scale farmers, one, they might not have the capital to really invest in these technologies. Two, one of the things we need to look at is connectivity, especially in the rural areas that might not be there, existing on 2G, 3G, or non-existent. And then another element is also electricity. I mean, to have these sensors, IoT devices, Internet of Things, IoT edge devices, you need electricity. And that can also be a barrier to roll out precision farming as an example. When I also look at other technologies like recommendation systems, I mean, that's something you can implement across anything. Simple example, we all watch streaming channels. I don't want to mention a specific name, but we all do stream, right? Yeah. I have to stop myself not to mention any names, but for the lack of it, just to put things into perspective, if you look at Netflix or YouTube or so, the more you watch, the more it actually recommends what your next possible watch could be. And that's pretty much what we can do in business as well. Looking at the various departments and allowing them to work together seamlessly, and that information can flow throughout each and every department to improve your business. And the more you analyze and just take one step back, the more you actually realize where areas of improvements might be. And then healthcare. I mean, healthcare, simple thing, telemedicine, looking at virtual consultations. That's happening at the moment. There's some practices, medical practices that do that, and really evolving that and taking that now, let's look at scanning images. You upload images and of various cancerous cells, and it can be detected much, much sooner, and much better than the naked eye can do it. So it's also about creating these large language models so that we can learn from what's happening around us from a medical perspective. And the list goes on and on and on, but let me rather stop there.
Thank you very much. Mr. Paulus, Philemon, pardon me. You are from the Ministry of ICT, one of our custodians for most of our national ICT innovation and initiatives. So can you perhaps tell us and tell the audience what are some of the most critical policy changes needed to support digital transformation and AI integration in Namibia?
Thank you very much. Very good question. For us government, yes, there is a need for serious or critical policy interventions. As you can see from the presentations or the format of the The previous presenter, she presented the digital transformation strategy. So that's one of the intervention from the government side. That's not the only one. From the continental front, we have the AU digital transformation, as well as at the sub-regional level, we have the SADC digital transformation. We equally have the AU AI strategy. So these are some of the intervention, but besides that, we also need legislative or legal frameworks to guide the course of development in the digital transformation initiatives. We also, with those legislative frameworks or strategy, we need to make considerations of digital infrastructure. We need to make considerations of upskilling and educational curriculum review, and then we can make considerations on supporting these research and development that go into the establishments of all these infrastructure and policies. Other measures, as we spoke about innovating, yes, we do the digital transformation, but most of our data will sit on these platforms. So other considerations will then involve the data protection, as well as the cybersecurity measures that you need in place, as well as when it comes to then the implementation of AI, the regulations and the ethical use of these implementations. As it was said in the earlier presentations, a human must always stay in control. As much as we're trying to mimic what a human could do with these robots or with these applications and the learnings, so the human should remain into, the control of this. And perhaps last but not least, as the government or all other implementers, we need to form partnerships to realize the aspirations and the dreams of our nations, what they want to see. Government alone might not be able to achieve it, but then with the support of the industry, the citizens also, obviously these partnerships will help, because the first consideration is everything we do is for the citizen, is for the users. How should we, or why should we do something for them without them? Hence, the partnership is equally critical. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Philemon. To Ms. Donata from the Development Bank of Namibia, can you please tell us what are some of the most critical factors for building a resilient digital economy in Namibia, and what are the key challenges and opportunities you foresee in scaling digital solutions across different sectors in the Namibia economy?
No, thank you very much for the question. Very good question. I listened to everyone here on the panel, and we all really speaking on the same thing. And one of the challenges that really came up here is skills. I personally believe that AI gives us a very good opportunity, because we get to teach it, right? What we really want it to learn. And this gives us an opportunity to really Africanize the solutions, and Namibianize the solutions. Hence, to build this resilience, we really do need to build a digital economy that is based on the solutions that will be suitable for our problems. And to do this, the first item that I can really get into is the efforts to really close the digital divide. We live in a country that, unfortunately, while some of us are going into 5G, others don't have radio signals. And if we do really need to make this digital economy work, we will have to close that divide. I know there's a lot of effort from government, especially with regulations now trying to force at least the service providers to really be able to reach the unserviced communities. And the second one, and it sounds like it's a jingle this time. Cybersecurity. We do need to build cyber resilience. And it sounds technical until it gets to a point where the people that use, let's say, Facebook in the villages, do they know the impact of what they are putting out there? And you can then build it up all the way to the solutions that you are actually putting out there. Cybersecurity really has to be a consideration in all front. Another, and I'm looking at Mr. Johnson here really, is for data privacy. In order to build digital trust, for people to really trust the solutions that are being pushed out, they need to trust that their data is safe. They need to trust that there's considerations of ensuring that they are safe. And this would really happen only if the regulations around data privacy and the data collectors are also put through at least some measures to enable this or to ensure that this happens. The public-private partnerships have been mentioned. We have so many plans. We have, as government, as SOEs, as private sector. I just went to the green stall earlier, and the emerging technologies that are being showcased there are really progressive. However, if government doesn't put regulatory framework in place to ensure that all of that is controlled, then that becomes a problem. And then this brings us also to myself, to such organization as development, but then supporting the upcoming companies such as, okay, I don't want to mention names, I might look biased. Yes, upcoming companies that are using these technologies and pushing it out to a community that's really not ready for such technology. However, the impact that will create is really massive. So the whole ecosystem really need to pull together to be able to achieve this. I'm getting on the building resilience, and ethical considerations have already been spoken about, and technology infrastructure needs to be in place. And this is one way really that we are going to be able to close that digital divide. I'm a big fan of the regulation on infrastructure sharing by the MICT, because then it reduces the capital that is required to be put in place for these technologies to be able to be rolled out even to the people in the rural areas. Opportunities are there, and there's not one single industry that technology doesn't or cannot impact. It really just boils down to skill, it boils down to strategic planning, and it boils down to the digital ecosystem. One of the best case studies that I really love about government involvement in creating this digital ecosystem is Estonia. We have the same setup almost. The population is small, but with government being involved and setting the stage, I think we can really achieve a lot. Another one is, and this is really opportunities again, India. The same qualifications that our people have here is the same qualification India has. But because they were progressive in what they want to do, or what they want to achieve, I think most of your support is coming out of there now. Another challenge that I really need to bring up is cultural barriers. However, I think we are slowly getting over this, and with a little progress and a little change in curriculum as it being mentioned here, we should be able to overcome that. And my last point on this, which is the opportunity, is that there's different business models for really implementing these emerging technologies. And often we want to jump to the highest. We can really start at impacting the individual, which is your low-case AIs such as a Copilot or such items, before we move to the processes and really eventually end up really getting to transforming the whole business model. Because without the people and the process being transformed, we can literally forget about the digital transforming this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What I can see coming out of this conversation is more on skill development and upscaling our nation. Dr. Shetekela again, can you please just maybe give us some insights on what strategy should be implemented to ensure continuous learning and upskilling opportunities in digital technology for the Namibian workforce? And also, how can we ensure that rural and underprivileged communities are not left behind in gaining access to digital education and skill development?
Thank you very much. That's a good question. Again, I emphasize first on three things: the curriculum modernization, re-education of educators, and additionally the use of digital tools. In these terms now that we need to make sure that the lifelong learning continues and upskilling continues. So we need to make sure that there is investment into infrastructure development. So the digital tools required by every school, the universities, require some budget. And if we have set out strategies to make sure that we implement, or we make sure that we have every school with a specific laboratory in terms of computers that they need to use, then it will ensure that every school in Namibia and those that are in rural areas are equipped with technologies that can be used for school and learning. Again, in terms of lifelong learning with the other specialists that are already in the industry, is retraining that is required, or re-education in the new curriculum that is modernized to ensure that everybody have the right skills. On the other hand, now, if we have strategies in place, but we do not put budget on it, the implementation plan will be useless. So it's from the government that they need to ensure there is sufficient, or at least certain amount of budget set out to ensure that there is certain tasks need to be achieved within a certain period. In most often, we rely that on the private sector industry, so they would also do a little, if the government is not putting the foot up front, to make sure that there is investment allocated to ensure that there is skills development, redevelopment, and retraining of all the nation or citizens of the country. Apart from that, the partner or private partnership agreements are also one of the things that need to ensure, as long as the government comes forth, they need also to provide platforms for other private entities to ensure, especially in technology, that one is bringing in devices in the country. They are sort of allowed a certain tax alleviation or so forth so that they can enable industries to grow. In that area, then we can be able to continue upskilling our people, having the right technology to implement stuff, and then we can move ahead as a country and be competitive, not only going ahead, but be competitive and relevant in line with other countries that are also developing like us. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. Mr. Snedwell, from a technological solution provider perspective, how can digital transformation create new business models in traditional industries, and what are the key opportunities Namibia should capitalize on?
Sure. I think from my perspective and from a service provider perspective, it cuts both ways. It's both government as well as private sector. Government needs to ensure that they put up the necessary guardrails so that we need to conform to whatever needs to be implemented. And I know that those are things that they are working, and they definitely have sleepless nights around that, initiatives that they're busy working on. And then from a service provider perspective, we need to make sure that we innovate and also make sure that we create that incubation type centers or innovative, let's say, initiatives where one of our philosophies is that we need to learn and to have that continuous learning, like you rightfully said, continuous learning and upskilling. We have to play around with things and test things locally in our country. So if we don't play around with technology, how do we learn and how can we improve? And we just need to start. That's pretty much my mantra that I just want to say, is that we just need to start playing around with things and testing it. And as we go along, we improve day by day. Also, from a business perspective, yes, AI is definitely here to stay and it's going to improve day by day. So we need to make sure that we use this to allow new business models to develop from this. And yes, and this is now across each and every sector: healthcare, mining, and the likes. And it's also to make sure that what we do, we need to use things ethically and make sure that we progress in whatever we do.
Okay, thank you very much. To round up our discussion, Mr. Philemon, how can Namibia balance the need for innovation with concerns about data privacy, security, and the ethical implication of AI?
Thank you, Tim. Yes, for the country to balance on, first, perhaps I would like to indicate that on innovation, there isn't much concerns. Everybody is excited about innovation. They want innovation. And then the other one is on privacy. It looks like there is a bit of concern on privacy issues as we come up with our data protection regulatory frameworks and stuff. But then you would want to wonder, when you were subscribing to Facebook, did you really get concerned about that much information of who your relatives are, who your partners are, and all that? When you signed up for Google account or Yahoo Mail or Hotmail, you didn't have these concerns. But then when the government comes to say we need to start putting up legislative frameworks to balance, you know, as much as we welcome the innovations and all these platforms, we need to control them. Then you start raising your eyebrows to say, yeah, but we are concerned, what is government going to do with our data? And now they even want to do a regulation. But yes, we anyways need to strike that balance. We need to regulate when it's good. We need to regulate when it also poses a danger in the implementation. In that space, you're looking at the government initiatives, for example, to establish or to develop or have the legislative framework on data protection, personal data protection, to at least hold somebody accountable that collects your information in case that information is used for the purpose that was not the intention or intended for, then there is accountability. And also, we don't become subjects of the new say of saying data has become the new oil. And then the good part of the data is it does not deplete. How you manipulate it, it will still remain relevant for as long as you manipulate it correctly. Now, on the integration or implementation of AI solutions, that's where most of the concern is. But then perhaps from the presentations we had this morning, most of us could probably today go home and sleep at peace, because we were made to understand that it's not through the digitalization and implementation of AI, is coming to make us irrelevant. But that what we need to do is for us to reskill and upskill ourselves to remain relevant amidst the implementations of these digital solutions and AI solutions. So lastly, I think government just need to be consultative and to do it with everyone, so it doesn't causes all these confusions, misconceptions, and all that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Philemon. Unfortunately, we have to end here due to time. We would wish to continue, but we are out of time. Thank you for being good audience, unless there are any questions from the audience.
All right, thank you so much to our moderator as well as our panelists. Thank you so much. May I ask that you just remain on stage for a picture? Please just remain on stage for a picture. Just stand, perhaps. Please, a round of applause to our panelists as well as our moderator. Thank you so much for sharing those insights. That's right. We don't end here. We still continue to bring you one more presentation. Delilah?
Such a gentleman, John. Thank you so very much for that. That's correct. We have one more presentation that will be closing off our conversations for today. And our speaker, please allow us to call onto the stage Vitalis Haupindi, who's the CEO of Yeni AI. This particular conversation is titled Yeni AI Teachers. And we want to have a conversation and really find out, is it a threat or is it a savior for the educational future? Please, a warm round of applause.
Afternoon, morning, evening? Afternoon, cool. My name is Vitalis, as introduced. I just wanted to get an indication, how many of you use AI every day? How many of you use AI or use ChatGPT? Okay. How many of you like AI or hate AI? How many of you hate AI? How many of you are afraid of AI? Hopefully by the end of this talk, you won't hate me as well. Okay, so Yeni AI, we are trying to build an AI teacher, a machine that can teach the whole lesson. Everything that a human teacher can do, you should be able to do it better, perfectly. Okay, that's what we are trying to do. That means the teacher won't teach the lesson anymore. So we're trying to do this for two reasons. But first, I'll tell you two stories. Okay. Am I the one changing or is it you guys? It's not clicking. It's AI. Cool. Okay, this is not, oh, I'll do this. Okay, two stories. 5 years ago, I was a learner at this school. Center is 80 kilometers outside Keetmanshoop. Our teachers, most of them were fairly new, just graduated, and they didn't explain the concept so well. And so I had to teach learners geography, mathematics, accounting, history during those periods, after school, on breaks, on weekends, and I used the internet to help me understand these concepts and explain it to them. And by the end of that year, we were the best geography school in the region. That's 2018, and we got 6 A stars. And I got the nickname Professor. Back then, I fell in love with education, and I thought I could solve all education problems. But another story that leads to how we come to Yeni is through those years, I participated in what we call science fairs, several of them international science fairs, and I learned how to write software. I learned how to program. And I was always involved in trying to build solutions for national problems, small prototypes to solve these problems. And so when I saw this issue in the newspaper, 81% of the learners failed. I thought, okay, I love education, I know how to build software, I can solve this problem if they can't solve it. And so I started in 2022, December. I cut Blescope and I said, until my company succeeds and I solve this problem, I'm not cutting my hair. So that's why my hair looks like this. And we don't know, maybe we have 7, 8 years more to go. And so I started building a platform called Teach Learn Namibia. The idea was, let's link learners to the best performing teachers around the country on this platform, Teach Learn, where they'll go on this platform and there's digital classrooms with videos, lessons, tests given by teachers from other schools. And these learners just subscribe to have access to it. We trained over 14 schools on that. We learned 2 things. First, it doesn't work. If you want to build something that works and help learners perform, it needs to work during active time, active learning time, from 7 o'clock when learners are at school until 1 o'clock. That's the time the solution must work. After school, not everyone goes home and go study. Some learners go home and they have to take care of a lot of responsibilities. And some just take 3 days before the exam, that's when they are studying. So there won't be enough time to master the content. So we learned that key thing there. And so when we were building Yeni, and we were just about to build 60 more schools, or to train 60 more schools on the platform, because we thought maybe it's not ticking off because it's few teachers. And we built an AI assistant into Teach Learn, and it was helping the teachers build the lessons. And when we met these principals, all 60 of them, some HODs, they said, we don't want that Teach Learn thing. Give us the AI. Let the AI teach the lesson. And that's how we came to Yeni. So then when we came to Yeni, we really realized also 2 things in educational pedagogy. And so we learned 2 things really. And this will inspire the reason why we built this solution. So we built Yeni on the 9th of September, or rather on the 3rd of September. We launched it on the 9th of September last year. We have managed to win 2 global competitions. One is the Africa to Silicon Valley Generative AI Hackathon, a competition where you are using students around Africa are building solutions for healthcare, education, whatever it is, with AI technology. There was 47 countries participating, 800 plus projects, 800 universities, students, and we won 2nd place there and we won over $200,000. The following month, we won $500,000 from Huawei, a global competition where there was 75 countries participating globally. Same idea, use 5G, use AI, cloud computing, build a solution for your community, and we're building it as a solution for education here in Namibia. And we won 1st place there. And now we stand a chance to compete for $100,000 somewhere in this month. But how do we solve that problem? 2 solutions, 2 ways. 1984, a scientist called Benjamin Bloom did a study. He took learners from a traditional classroom. 1 teacher teaching 30 learners. He removed these learners from this classroom and he gave all these learners 1 teacher. He realized that's the same learner. If you stop giving them group instruction, one size fits all, and you give them one-on-one, these learners can improve by 2 standard deviations. That's 2 sigma, meaning the learner can skip 2 symbols. From a C, they can become an A if you just give them a private tutor. But he realized since 1984, it doesn't make economic sense to provide a teacher for every child. We can't afford that. No government in the world can provide a teacher for every child. That's why I call it the 2 sigma problem. But we say that's 1984, almost 40 years ago. We are saying with AI today, we can build an AI teacher that will teach each child on their devices and replicate these results, these 2 sigma results. And by the end of this, I'm going to show you how we have done this with 99 learners here in Namibia. We have skipped these symbols. And so what we're trying to do is essentially replicate this. Provide 1 teacher for every child because that can allow learners to skip 2 symbols or more. But it's not enough to just provide 1 teacher for every child. The teaching must be competent. It's a framework called Bloom's taxonomy. It's not changing yet. Yes. So curriculums are designed using this framework, whether it's Namibia, Cambridge, whatever it is. The idea is to move learners from low order thinking to high order thinking. We don't want them just to remember stuff or understand stuff. We want them to be able to apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. But in order for them to go to that level, the teacher must be at that level to move the learners up that hierarchy, whether it's the human teacher or whether it's the AI teacher. And so what we've done with Yeni is that we've built it such that it's really intelligent, frontier AI, and it's able to move learners up this hierarchy using what we call the Socratic teaching method. So what you do have is the current frontier AI models are having an IQ of 150. Albert Einstein's IQ was 160. That's 10 points difference. You can't find any human in Namibia who most likely is smarter than an AI like that. And so we have an AI that does that, and it's able to move learners up that hierarchy. And so I'll run through quickly to show you. Mashipindo's teaching 30 learners at Cederla Secondary School, chemistry. Her learners come with devices to school, tablets, smartphones, whatever it is. And then they come to school, and instead of sitting on their tables and listening to Mashipindo deliver one size fits all lesson, they go on their devices, and they're given a lesson by Yeni AI in that classroom. And so sort of looks like this. They go into Mishipindo's biology classroom. On the teacher side, Mishipindo will prepare a lesson. All what a human teacher needs to do to prepare a lesson is to go into their syllabus. Whether you're following Cambridge, Namibia, whatever curriculum, you copy those learning objectives, you put it into Yeni as instructions. You tell Yeni, this is what you must teach each learner. By the end of this lesson, everyone should understand this. And the AI will make sure each learner will understand it in their own unique way, in a way that just makes sense to them. Okay? This is happening in the class right now. 99 learners are using this. They are only getting lessons from this. So this is what the human teacher does. Okay, you spend 5 minutes to go in the lesson objectives, you paste, you put it in there. And then it also generates a test of that. And then that test will be given to the teacher to review. Both multiple choice and structured questions with a guide answer. And then the learners will be given this test at the end, and then the AI will also mark this test. So after they've taken the lesson, they take a test and we see if they have learned or not. Okay? You're still with me? Don't hate me still? Wait until we come to the pros and cons. So quick, it's a chatbot. Back and forth conversation between each learner and Yeni AI. The learner speaks to it in natural language, just like how you speak, it's possible now. It's called large language model. So you can speak to a computer and it will understand you. Yeni understands over 50 languages, including Afrikaans, but not the indigenous languages here. And so the learner says, hi, what are we learning today? And Yeni says, today we are learning, hello, today we are going to dive into the fascinating world of this. We are going to cover the following 3 things. And it says, let's start with a question to get us thinking. So this is the idea. This is the pedagogical method we're employing. Instead of giving learners like how a normal human tutor will do when you're teaching a learner 1 + 1, you don't just tell them 1 + 1 is this, you are good to go. You tell them 1 + 1 is 2. 2 + 2 is 4. 3 + 3 is how much? Try it out. And then the learner attempts, and they say what's in their mind. And so Yeni is going to do that. So the rest of the platforms like ChatGPT, those are not built for education, so they don't do that. But we've built it with that in mind that it's going to be a teacher. All the pedagogical methods we know in education, it's going to follow it to the dot. All the research we know in education. So learners can speak to it, it can speak back, but we have seen learners don't prefer just typing and reading. And so it's going to do that. It's going to guide the learner, each learner in a unique lesson. Okay, the lesson is between that learner and Yeni AI, and another learner will have their own unique lesson. Apart from that, Yeni also has the ability to go across the internet and find a video or a picture to explain it to this learner, just this individual learner. The video was not picked by the human teacher. The machine intelligently thought and found a video that makes sense to explain it to the learner. Okay? And it will go do that for the same with graphs and images, and it will generate them. It's going to do everything that a human teacher can do at this point in time. And you'll see what the results are. And so it will be a back and forth conversation. The learners are given the quiz, we mark the quiz. Prehistorically, it was not possible to mark structured questions, but now with Yeni AI, and anyone who can use a computer and can program can make a machine mark the structured questions. So the teacher doesn't mark. The AI marks and gives detailed feedback. So we have the whole thing. From giving the lesson to assessing, the AI will take care of that. This is how learners have felt about using Yeni AI.
Enjoyed how it engaged me rather than just give me the answer like most other AI software. It helped me when it asked me questions and it actually had me thinking about what the answer could be.
And it was even probing. So what did you think? How do you feel about this?
I normally just write like 3 sentences, but it gave me an idea on how to make it in paragraph form and make you get the maximum points that you can get.
The learning feels more customized to me than instead of a whole group of people.
Yeah. It felt like face-to-face, like you one-on-one with someone. So it just felt like they were paying more attention than a class with 25 people.
I'm actually scared to ask my teacher some questions. So then I asked it and it actually explained to me in a better way.
Also polite to the learners, the language that is used. Like, okay, good, the compliments also encourage learners to do more.
If you get something right or wrong, it just makes you feel nice. Even if you get something right, it'll make you feel nice about it. If you get something wrong, it'll still make you feel somehow nice about it.
This time when I asked the question about acids and bases, and it gave me quite the friendly response, not like the other AIs which give you in a professional way, but it feels as if you're talking to another person in a sense.
Okay, cool. Got a lot of learners engaged. And they were quite interested. I mean, throughout the lesson, they were occupied. So that hardly happens in a traditional lesson.
I got to ask questions that most of the time I didn't get time to ask teachers.
Compared to like a teacher, a normal teacher, it just like breaks everything so much more in depth.
Because learners normally just say, I don't understand. They don't say what it is that they don't understand. And with the misconceptions, you could now gauge what it is exactly that the learner doesn't understand.
It gives you also to think. It gives an opportunity to the learners to think outside the box also.
This is the most that I have seen others giving tangible examples.
It was some of the best like AI I've ever used in my life.
The learners love it, the teachers love it, they don't like me. Oh, cool. We are doing a government school research. We've been trying to get permission to do this for almost a year. We have 4 schools. 99 learners are using ENI right now. From 7 o'clock until 1 o'clock. They are only being taught by ENI, no human teacher. And I'm going to show you quickly. So one of the schools, for example, Eshipena already did this for 7 weeks. It was supposed to last for 7 weeks, but they've requested now that it lasts for the whole semester. And this is how the results look like. So these learners are being taught by an AI teacher. Okay, what happened first, so this idea, we are trying to compare the same learner. If you give them a human teacher to teach them in the normal class, and you give them a test on that topic, and you see how much they score. And then we are going to give these same learners a different topic, but being taught by an AI teacher, and we'll see how this same learner performs across these different topics. Okay, so they are being taught inside the class. The tests were created by teachers across the country, and these teachers, we pay them $500 to mark these papers and create the tests. We are making people rich. But these tests, we did not mark these tests. We did not even see them. Okay? And so right now, let me see. Are you excited to see the results? Oh, okay, that's how it looks like in the class. Learners on the devices, they are talking, they can play music, and they interact. They are using ENI on their devices. Okay, some have iPads at the richer schools, tablets. At the smaller schools, like Eshipena, we had to buy 15 devices. The research was supposed to cost us $135,000. Cost us $235,000 by now. And it's going to cost more. So please, if you have money, give us money. But this is how it looks like in a classroom. Learners are using it, and they can talk to each other. There's still human interaction. So it's not like they're not talking to each other. So don't worry. There's human interaction. Okay? So the blue one is when they were in the normal class. The test is out of 40 marks. Okay, if you see the middle one, is the cursor on? Okay, cool. The blue one, 7 learners got between 30 and 40%. 7 out of 40. That's a percentage. But when we give them a different topic, a different lesson, and then it was taught by an AI, about 10 of these learners get to score between 65 and 70%. Okay, you can see the improvement. The one below is the score. So you start from 0, that's like you fail. Going further, you are passing. You see all learners who are getting AI instruction, the same learner. When they were in a normal class, that's the blue one. When they got an AI instruction, they improved. And you'll see by how much standard deviations they improved. And we thought maybe it's just the first lesson. So let's give them another test. This is physical science, or physics grade 10. And so we thought, let's give them another test. And so the blue one is still the normal human instruction, traditional classroom. And then I'm almost done. The red one is the AI instructions. The zeros you see here, those learners did not write the tests, but we had to record them. Okay, so you see, here now we have 10 learners who scored between 70% and 80%. But previously, only 2 learners scored between 55 and 60%. Okay, cool stuff. Almost done. Why is it not switching? Time is up, eh? But I hope this gives you an idea of where it's gonna go, and yeah, just pass through all of them. There you also see a violet graph that shows you. The green one is cool. Just go next. I think you get the idea. Okay, and I will show you now on average here how much exactly they improved altogether. You can go to the next one. Is the internet is not on. Okay, so 1984, Benjamin Bloom showed us if you take a human teacher and if you take 30 learners, you give them each a private tutor, a human teacher, these learners can improve by 2 standard deviations, okay, 2 sigma. That means if a learner was scoring a C, you give them a private tutor, which is a human, they can improve by 2 samples. And so what you just saw with those results are preliminary, so we still have more coming because the research is still ongoing. And so the next one, so currently the learners in the traditional classroom, they were scoring 34% on average on the test out of 40. That's an F. When we gave them the first test, they were able to improve by 1.8 standard deviations. That's almost 2 sigma. And that's close to skipping 2 samples. In the second test, they skip 1.4. But what you don't understand is that this is just the first attempt. What happens on Yeni is that if you get less than 80%, Yeni will analyze your mistakes in the test and in the lesson, and it will create another lesson for you to follow up. So if you don't pass this one, you can pass the next one. And therefore, this is just the first test, basically the version 1. And by just taking the first test, you can improve already by that much. So it's possible. And what are the pros and cons? I think that one is important for people to know. If anything, the pros and cons. Those are my thoughts on where this is going based on what we are trying to build and what other people are building. Pros. I think pros are the positive stuff. AI teachers can guarantee us to get really high order thinkers, people who are able to think smart. Like I'm saying, it's 150 IQ. Okay, if you can get Albert Einstein to teach you nuclear physics, you will be awesome. Okay, so we can get learners to move up that hierarchy. So that's a good thing. We can get really people who can innovate and create stuff because and everyone is able to do this. You just have to give them the right teacher and the right learning methodology. And we can make the curriculum hard. So we don't longer have to worry about whether it's hard or not. In fact, let's make it hard because the teachers are good. The AI will be a good teacher. So you can make it as hard as possible. Okay, and then faster and efficient CPD. So the continuous professional development. We don't have to train, we can make the curriculum hard, we don't have to worry about training the human teachers. Their role will change, they won't be responsible for teaching lessons. But you update the AI. You train the AI and the AI is updated. So if you make the curriculum hard, you train the AI. You don't train the human teachers on the content. Okay, all that makes sense. So it's cheaper. You don't have to have workshops training them on how to do BOTMAS. Cons, the bad stuff. I do think there will be job losses for teachers, especially at private schools. Private school is a business, okay? You can pay a teacher 20,000 per month, or you can pay any 1,050, and it will teach all the subjects. So it's obvious to all of us that that's going to happen if you are a business. I mean, maybe we should question their morality, or we should question our morality if we are going to sell it to them. We are not going to sell it to the private schools. Let's assume. And you should change your course if you are doing education. That's what I think. And here's why. I think this is a very intelligent argument. Intelligence, AI, is now available, it's cheap. And so if you are a teacher, your aim is to teach this intelligence to these learners, but it's cheaply available to everyone. But what the teacher can do is, you can switch to be a learning coach. That's something that a human can do. Just like how you have a soccer coach, a rugby coach, you can have a learning coach. And so you can switch to fields like that. Because if the private schools will not be hiring more teachers, I can assure you that. They would rather have more AIs. The government, it's up to them to decide what they will do on that. But I do encourage you, I think you should think seriously about it. Go search more about YouTube, go read books, that's going to happen. And then there will, of course, be resistance from human teachers on implementing this. It has to be up to us, people like me, how we speak and how we portray this information. I'm learning how to portray it in a better way so that I don't provoke people, but I really want to help. Okay? We're done. So, last one. We had 4 revolutions in the computing industry. We have the PC and the server that brought us Microsoft and Google. And we were now able to do things that were not previously possible. And then we had the internet that brought us Amazon and your Google. And then we have the mobile, which brought us your Airbnb and your Uber and your Yangos. We now have AI. It's only started in the 2020s. The revolution just started now. And I do encourage many of you young people, we can now do things that were not possible previously. Intelligence is cheap. You don't need a smart friend. You have an AI. You can build anything. And so I'll encourage you can now try out things. And the next big businesses that will be built will be in this industry. And it might be that AI might be humanity's last invention. This might be the last invention we make as humanity, and from then on, the AIs will make the invention. That sounds bad. But trust me, I don't know actually. We are a team of 2 guys. I'm a programmer. I write all the software. I dropped out of computer science to work on this full time because we won't have a time like this anymore. The time is going. So we are looking for interns as well, and we are looking for smart people to work with us and help us build this out and find ways to implement it into society and integrate it into the system. Thank you very much. You can try it out. Parents, if you are going at a private school and you are still getting a private tutor, I think you should come to us. You can pay cheap, and your child can really get world-class education. Thank you very much. I took up a lot of your time. So sorry.
Thank you so much. Please, another round of applause. This was quite interesting. This was very interesting. Here you go. Thank you. This is a thank you to you.
What an enticing conversation, and John was so enthralled in it. Everything Mr. Haupindi was mentioning, John is like, yes, I need to research this. I need to get more information on this. And it's quite intense, hey?
Let me tell you why. I wanted to ask where he was when I was still in high school, because my parents thought I was useless. And imagine this, if this was there at the time. I mean, quite interesting. Thank you so much once again for that presentation. It was quite interesting. And I'm sure a lot of us have a lot of questions on this as well. And we are going to have that moment to just, ask him a lot of questions, as well as the other presentations that, of course, was taking place earlier today. So we're going to give each other a better platform to do that.
Most certainly so. Thank you all for joining us for the official opening day of the 8th National ICT Summit. I am Delilah Katanga.
And I'm Johnny Konja. Again, thank you so much. Please, we have a very special event for us. And I think I would like to give you the honor to invite perhaps everyone who's here for the next one.
John, I want to keep this one top secret for a few more minutes. Shall we?
Don't blame me at the end of the day.
Don't worry, my ghost voice will pop back up in a few. But while it does so, as we continue to engage on our social media platforms, do be sure to please use the hashtags, that is hashtag ICT Summit 2024, hashtag digital transformation, as well as hashtag artificial intelligence. This particular summit is themed Building Resilience to Adapt or Die in an Era of Digital Transformation, as well as Artificial Intelligence. Thank you for joining us.